Quick Snap is presented by FWM, dependable solutions for the pros since 1866.
Welcome back on another Victory Tuesday.
Yeah.
Coming out on Wednesday for the Patriots. One of those games, like, you just got to go in and handle your business. And we've always said, like, sometimes you play a team and their cars are running while the game's going on. I mean, the New York Jets looked absolutely like they did not want to be out there. But, and this was the first thing I wrote, the biggest thing was the Patriots showed up and they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, that to me, like, and not taking away from the quarterback. At one point in the game, I don't know. Only thing I was cheering for, not the Patriots to win. They already did that.
Yeah,
was for the kid not to throw an interception.
I know. I felt like you jinxed him because 2 plays later is when Kyle Williams dropped the first pass.
But yeah, you're right, Hoy. To me, that's the biggest thing, right? Like, and what that shows to me is this team has a standard for themselves.
Right.
And that's the most important thing, because you are going to play games like this, right? And, you know, it's not as much as, and I think if you look at it each week, like, hey, it doesn't matter who we're playing.
Yep.
We have to play to our standard.
Right.
And our standard is good enough to win. And, you know, they could have gone out there, slapped it around, won 17-10, you know, or even 28-10, you know, and Drake's out the last 4 minutes of the game or something, you know. But they go out there, handle their business, really in all three phases, I thought. I mean, the defense flew around, you know, and there was things in the game to me that I thought they're routine things. And maybe I thought they were routine early in my career because we did those things so much. And then later in my career, I figured out, like, well, that's a little harder than you think. Yeah. But there's 3 plays where I looked at it. It was like, it's their understanding, just everybody in the offense, the system. And, you know, you had a lot of, you know, Chisholm out there. Yep. You know, you had, and I know Lowe and Ben Brown have played, you know, a good amount now, but still they're 2 backups. You know, just guys executing. Drake's understanding of everything in the offense. To me, the biggest thing, and shout out to the coaches and the leaders and the team, just to get everybody ready, focused. And my thing is, you do it this week. That's all you got to do again. Mm-hmm. You know, so it wasn't a. Did you watch it?
I did. I mean, I was.
You
watching
watched it all.
I watched
Don't
split
sit
screen.
Here and lie to
I
me.
did. Look. At a certain point, I have, you know, the YouTube TV, so I can create my own split screen. So I had the Steelers-Browns game on. There wasn't a lot of great football. I'm trying to think what other game was
Browns
on. It was sloppy.
It was
though,
sloppy, but it was
mattered.
Like
you know what I mean? And so I had that one on.
I did.
But I never turned it off. I mean,
I did.
That's the beauty. I like having that YouTube TV. That
I can't do
NFL
the split
Sunday.
screen. It's too.
You got to get a bigger screen.
I just can't focus on it, dude. It just.
Well, what I do is, at least for on YouTube TV, you can pick which one the audio is on.
Yeah, do you do?
And so I keep the audio on the Patriots. So then, like, in between plays, I can peek over. One's on red zone for sure.
I don't know. It's distracting to me.
It is fun to, like, sit there and just watch football all day, and, like, to be able to have that option. Obviously, we're watching the Patriots game because we're going to sit here and talk about them. But we go back and watch the coaches tape anyways.
That's
so
the thing.
There's your tweet right there, and I responded to you.
That's the thing. Like, what?
I think the answer to this question is, as a fan, like, yes, you have to watch the Patriots game and do the split screen like Porter said. You have to watch the game.
What'd you switch to? That's the question.
The Browns game.
Okay.
If they're up 100-0, like,
you've got to watch the game.
And I mean, I did. I watched it while it was not competitive after the 6 minutes to go in the game or first quarter.
Yeah. Did you check back every once in a while?
Yeah, I mean, I would flip back. Like, it was once Hunter scored that last touchdown.
Right before half.
No, I thought Hunter scored in the third quarter.
No, that was Chisholm who scored in the third.
Chisholm scored in the third.
Yeah.
Whenever that was the
5th touchdown pass.
That last touchdown pass, I was like,
oh yeah. At
and
that point.
Once Dobbs came in, no offense to Josh, I grew up with Josh, but no offense to Josh, I was like, well, I'm gonna watch the coaches tape.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I only watched maybe a few of those plays on the coaches tape.
I mean, I skimmed them.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the reality. That was always, as a backup quarterback, when you'd get in a game like that, and then like the next day you'd go watch the film with the team, and you'd be like, man, I can't wait to watch my plays. And even the coaches would skim those.
Let's go ahead and break up an individual.
Right. Yeah. But no, to me, like, starting out on the offense, I thought the entire staff and the players did a good job, kind of shorthanded, right? You had injuries. All of a sudden, Mac Hollins pops up. He's put on IR. Booty's not playing. Thankfully they got Henderson back.
Yeah.
He cleared protocol, had a great game. But I thought Josh's use of personnel in this game was pretty awesome. There was a lot of jumbo. There was 12 personnel, 11 personnel, 13 personnel, 21, 20 personnel. Like, he did a good job of switching it up, and I think this is also one of those games, and you remember this from game planning. They knew if they got the Jets into a base defense, it was going to be one of two calls. Because I look at the first pass play to Diggs, I think it was Haas Juke, and immediately they all know the ball's going to Diggs, and Diggs understands there's going to be no one because it's blitz one. There's no one in the middle. I can run this juke route, the best juke route of my life.
Is that the one I sent you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's just the execution of knowing what the defense is going to do. I go to the Mondre touchdown. How many times have you seen where you bring the back in, know that it's man coverage?
Yeah, that was one of the plays I had brought up.
To me, that was what I probably the same thing as you. I wrote down, this is what the Patriots offense does at its best.
And so, I put the first Mondre's touchdown. Yeah, the first Mondre touchdown, that was a protection, right, where he's free releasing. Yep. I want to say it so bad.
I know.
But it's not hard, right? But there's a lot of communication between Drake and the O-line getting the protection set, because now you're using the tight end in protection, which I would say that Josh does. Yeah. But it's not. We don't major
sparingly.
In it. Yeah, we don't major in it. And so to get all that communicated with the blitz front and do that, but then the other one, I thought I got these mixed up. His second big play, where they ran the man beater, same thing, brought him in motion, but Chisholm did it.
Oh, you're talking about when he went through the line?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Chisholm did a great job because it was a pick play. Yeah. And, you try to get these plays dialed up, and the rule is a yard at the line of scrimmage.
Right, and this is this is the impressive part of how well a team is coached. Yes. Is here it is a center who played in that system for a long time, understanding the rule and the importance of it, and noticing it now as a retired player on film of how well coached and the execution of a rookie who's barely played. Now it's his responsibility to create friction for the running back, and like you said, does a tremendous job of not picking him.
Yeah. No, well, he did pick him because he was within a yard.
Right.
But, as a player, when you're out on the field, there's yard markers, but you get lost. And, if you're over it at all, they're going to throw the flag. And you're right. It's just, to me, these a couple of examples were just how well they are coached top to bottom, right? Because, if Diggs does that, you're like, well, Stefan's a 9-year vet. He's played a lot of football, blah, blah, blah. Chisholm's a rookie, has barely played any.
But knew what to do.
Knew what to do, how to do it. And, it just, to me, that was, you're seeing a well-coached, and look, I don't think that's all on the coaches. It takes two to tango, the players have to be receptive to the coaching. And I think a lot of teams and you were on that we were successful, sure, coaching was great. But also, guys, you got to be receptive to it and understand it and understand why coaches are doing certain things, and that kind of relationship between player and coach, which I think a lot of these coaches understand. And Mike, I think it probably starts with Mike, and has done a great job trickling down to guys. And, as a player, when a coach is coaching you hard, but he cares about you and wants what's best for you, which then it obviously is what's best for the team, right? Which everybody wants. It helps you and it means more to you. And
when I think you and I both experienced, and we can't speak for Vrabel's type of coaching, but I know from Josh's type of coaching, a lot of times what would he have us do? He'd have us meet on our own and let the leaders in the room or the signal callers or the communicators, they would run the meetings. And so that showed up several times for me. And we've even heard, I think it was Hooper in a press conference talking about how Drake takes command in the meetings or holds his own meetings and says, you guys got to be here on this play. I need you to break at this yardage, whatever it might be. But there was a few plays that showed up to me. There was an empty protection. He made the protection call, and he guessed wrong. right? And that happens. But the most important part, what do we always say? Know what you're responsible for. So that was the hot route that he throws to Chisholm, right? So he changes the protection to the right, thinking that they're bringing the blitz from the right. They fool him. Here comes the will.
I didn't think, because they brought both linebackers on that play.
But
you were going to be hot either way.
Yeah, I guess you're playing the odds. But my point is to make the call,
want him to push it left.
Understand. No, I'm okay with what he did. I think what he did is fine, but to now say, okay, they are bringing both linebackers. We can't block them all. Where's my hot route? And then the physical part takes over, and he can throw his sidearm and hit the hot route.
That was another play that I had marked as something that they're just showing the intricacies of the offense, because I saw both linebackers come. So he's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because they're bringing 6, you only got 5 to block and empty. So I thought Lowe did a great job, obviously squeezing on the will. Drake understood now he's hot off the left defensive end.
Yep.
Drifts away from it and hits Chisholm, and it's a big play.
Yeah. Those are plays that I don't think people understand.
They look easy.
They look easy, and the intricacy that goes into it. And this goes back to the discussion that I had with Phil Perry last week. Like, our quarterbacks being coached properly and understanding what they have to do on the field, because I see a lot of young guys in particular that they just don't even know they're hot. Yeah. And so to me, it just confirms even more the level of understanding and command that Drake has of this system. And you talked about it before, he's taken the coaching. Now he's got to go out and execute it. And honestly, I mean, look, obviously the stat sheet said it, but there was a lot of decisions that he made in this game that 100%. Were just flawless, that just knowing the intricacies of this system, getting to the right guy, alerting to the right play. And I was going to ask you this, and because you would know better than me, I feel like there was maybe some things in this game that Josh threw in there to maybe put on film. So now down the road, particularly in the running game, other teams are going to have to prepare for. Because there was some runs that I felt like we hadn't seen a lot this year, whether it was pulling the backside tackle and the tight end. There was some stretch with flashers. There was some different types of running plays, and I'm just wondering.
They did a few different things, and when you do those stretch with flasher. So what Hoyer means by a flasher is you might be running left, but like if you have a tight end or a wing on the left side, he goes backwards to the right.
To the back end.
And so what it can do a couple of things. One, it can bring the safety into the box, and so you might declare it a certain way, but as an offensive lineman, you got to push it. We didn't major in it when Josh was here with us. I saw other teams do it, and I'm like, it's got to be simple. And for whatever reason, I feel like it's one of those, especially on the zone plays, you got to practice it a lot. Mm-hmm. And we were so good at getting downhill and doing different things that we just didn't practice it enough to feel like where I felt like as players we were really comfortable with it. And they kind of messed it up a little bit. But sometimes on these zone runs, you get guys displaced in awkward positions, and you'll watch them, and it's like, well, that guy's not blocked, but it's still a positive play. Whereas you run duo downhill, you don't block anybody. Like, you don't block someone on duo. It's bad news. So there was a lot. You mentioned earlier about, obviously Mac Hollins, which I think is a huge loss for this football team for a lot of different reasons. But you kind of mentioned jumbo and personnel thing. I wanted to expand on it because, and hear your take, because I got asked it on pregame radio this week. You've seen Josh do it. And I think earlier in my career, it wasn't that big of a thing we did. But also, who were our tight ends? Rob Gronkowski, Tellus Bennett, Dwayne Allen. We had these bigger physical tight ends. And I think the league changed, right? Maybe like 2018, 17, I felt like it started to change, where you started seeing more of these substituted defenses, these safeties playing linebackers builds started to change, and you know this, and you can expand on it if you want, but like when defenses get into sub defense, it can go haywire fast.
Yeah, because they can have a lot of different. Sub defense is short for substituted defense, and so what that means is you're substituting a linebacker out of your base defense for a nickel, and because of that, it's like, how do you treat him? Remember the discussions we would have? All right, it's a base run versus nickel defense. That would throw people off, because I don't know if it ever felt like this at the offensive line, but looking out and you're like, well, that's a DB. He can't be the Will, or he can't be the Sam.
It didn't mess with me that much.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things where I think the NFL started, guys were like, oh, we got to get speed on offense. So then defense adjusted.
Yes.
Now all these defenses, the Bills, we always knew the Bills were very, very big. They didn't like to play base defense.
They did not want to.
And there's more teams, but for some reason, that's just one that always sticks out to me. But and then I think offenses started being like, well, we should get big. They can't defend this.
Yeah.
It's harder for them to defend. And I think also the tight end position evolved a lot.
100%.
And so now you're seeing, a lot of these teams, I know the Ravens use, I think his name's Ricard.
Yep.
The Chargers use a few of these guys. You've just seen, and now the Patriots have used Ben Brown, Munford a lot. And, I think when you had Matt Collins, Hunter Henry, those guys, that was awesome. The one negative, because I do think you can use, Mumford as your jumbo tight end and put like Hunter and Hoop in a role of Matt Collins.
And now you're in 13 personnel, and there's no defense in their right mind that's going to play nickel defense to that.
But you do lose, unfortunately, if you didn't do that and you had Hunter at tight end. Now your play actions are a lot different with using Hunter and Hollins and routes versus, you're not going to put Mumford on a crosser over the middle on play action, But
I mean, I was waiting for a big man touchdown last week.
Yeah, a big man touchdown.
I'm like,
one thing I'm talking about, like at the 40-yard line.
And Mumford, I played with Mumford in Vegas. He's an athletic. Like he definitely would be able to get open down there.
Let me tell you this: I have loved watching him block people. Blocks his ass off. I think he's done a great job, and I liked seeing the team do it.
Yeah.
But it is something that I think a lot of people in the league are trying to get back to is like, all right, we can get guys in base defense. We can get big. We can run the football. And I think it's a combination of, one, how defense responded to a lot more of these skill guys. Two, I think the tight end position changed, and you're seeing a lot more of this now. But, I think it's going to be a major part of this team's game plan now with Matt Collins out.
No, and I'd agree. I saw you on the radio saying, like, you thought that losing Matt Collins would be more consequential than when they lost Will Campbell or even Milton Williams. And not just because of what he does playing, but what he brings to the energy and the attitude and all of those things as well.
And also, I think part of that, like, is the timing. Like, Will Campbell's coming back. Yeah. Like, part of it now is like, you're the number 2 seed, a very good chance to make a run here. Yeah. And,
now I did read
losing
that
a key guy.
It is just 4 weeks when it comes to the playoffs. It's not a game. So if they were to get the bye, that would still count as a week. So
still doesn't change.
That would be, I guess technically he could be back by the AFC Championship
no matter what.
If they can, get him healthy. Not really sure what he's dealing with. But no, I think the personnel thing is one of Josh's strengths. Yeah. He understands how to use his personnel, and you know this because what would I say in the huddle, or Tom would say in the huddle, Josh would give us the personnel that we're using, and then immediately, all right, bases in the game. Yeah. And the quarterback would repeat it for you guys, because now while you're in the huddle listening to play, you have a picture in your mind of what it could be.
And we knew really when you got a base defense, right, depending on the overall structure of the defense, like, all right, if they were a 3-4 type defense, you knew you were going to get under Tom, 3-4, or diamond, which is a bear front. If but and every now and then there were curveballs, but you created these curveballs by motions and different things, so you could manipulate the front a lot more. But I always like, if this was the huddle and like my back's to the line of scrimmage, I turned around because I could tell if it was base or not by who
was standing there.
If there was a nose guard, because a lot of times,
because when those substituted defenses, a lot of times the D line subs out as well. Because if you go to a substituted defense, maybe your end in your base defense kicks down to like the 3 technique or the whatever.
It would change, obviously. Like if you're playing a true 4-3 team, there's always going to be 4 D linemen out there. But if you're playing, like a 3-4, you could look and be like, all right, there's 5 known rushers. All right, now there's only 4. You could manipulate it that way. So I always, while you guys were getting the play call or whatever, or we were just getting back to the huddle, I would just watch, and you could start seeing the subs. But I also too, like, you talk about how they played. Did you see the hit Gonzo put on Mechie on the sideline?
Oh, yeah.
Like 2 minutes to go.
I love the fact that he is not one of these corners that shies away from contact.
But he's done it all year.
Yeah.
Like he has come up and hit people.
Yep.
But in a game like that, I think it's just another example of the mentality. Like he could have just gone over there, put his hands. Like Mechie was obviously going at. Like no.
Yeah.
When you line up and you play us, you're gonna pay. You're gonna feel it.
And I think that goes to what you said. Like they're gonna play the way they play, regardless of who's in front of them.
Yeah.
And we can talk about, now I'm starting to see with Drake Maye becoming the leader to be the MVP. What about his strength of schedule? Like, it doesn't matter to them. They're going to play their football regardless of the team that's in front of them. And I think you and I both know anywhere, anytime, any place, like, if you can take that attitude and standard with you, that'll get you a long way.
Yeah, it carries you a long way. And then the last thing that stuck out to me, and Vrabel talks about this early, taking advantage of bad football.
Yes.
So, you get down, right? They were backed up before the half. Right, third down. I think it was like, third and long, 8, something like that. It tried to hit Diggs on the crosser. Clark, I think, was the DB. Made a great play breaking that pass up, Just goes over and taunts Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, like, you just made a great play. Now your team's probably going to get the ball either on your side of the 50, or right around midfield.
Yep.
It was going to be a backed up punt, basically.
That was roughing the passer on that play as well, right?
Was there 2 penalties?
Yeah,
I just remember the taunting.
Yeah, there was taunting, which I think they took that
it was
one
hit
instead.
high and hit low.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, that was
what
not the
pissed-
play when
that
Vrabel
pissed
came
Vrabel
out
off?
and ran to check on
Yeah.
Drake. Like, dude, you could see
was.
the worry on his face when that happened.
I just
And then
thinking about the
Vrabel said F him, and then it just clicked, and then you saw him take it up a notch.
yeah.
But they took advantage of bad football into that drive with points. To me, that is another staple. It's just all of things that Vrabel said they wanted to do.
Yep.
And they're doing.
Yeah, and I think that leads us into our FW Web dependable players of the game. At FW Web, people and relationships come first, and you can always depend on FW Web to find the right products and solutions for your next project. This was a big team win. So the Patriots counted on everything and everyone to bring it home, a hat and T-shirt. And what does that usually mean? Game balls for everyone.
Game balls
the
for
whole
everyone.
team is dependable. What a turnaround. Vrabel said this was the first goal, right, was to win the division. And I thought, this is what I love about social media, and because Vrabel's the coach, we get to see some of this. How cool is it, the video, the guys watching it on the bus, coming back, the hat and T-shirts waiting for them, and you and I kind of joked, like, do you and I even have a picture of our hat and T-shirt from the AFC East?
This is, I would say this, and when we say everyone, it takes everyone in the organization,
Not
right?
just the players,
Not just the
coaches.
players. It's coaches, support staff. That's why everyone gets hat and T-shirts. Everyone gets Super Bowl rings when that time comes. But look, you accomplished your first goal.
Yep.
And that's where it has to start, right? That's goal number one. And look, there's not one person on that football team that's won an AFC East with that team.
Wow. Yeah, because 19 was the last year, so no one was there.
So, they should be happy. They should celebrate. I do
So
think
deserving.
It's funny. I mean, how many had they won by the time what was 2010?
Yeah, 2009 was my first
9,
one.
so
and
what, 7?
Yeah, probably.
8?
Yeah, it was. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and everyone just took the hat and T-shirt and threw it in the locker.
My wife literally was like, "Where's your stuff?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Your AFC. Did they do that when you guys were playing?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Where are they?" I was like, "I don't know. They're in the attic."
It probably got.
She's like, "They gave 'em- I've never seen them." I was like, because it just, when I came into it, that was like, no, we win the AFC East.
Yeah, it wasn't a question.
Yeah, and then we go on and do but these guys should be proud. They should be excited because it wasn't like, I would say, it wasn't a division where you're like, oh, it could be anybody. No, everyone knew who the AFC East champs were.
Yeah.
It was the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
That it wasn't like it's been a different team every year and you're kind of like a, middling league. I don't know. Look at the NFC South. It's just kind of it's, but this is no, this has been the Bills division and you took it from them.
Yeah.
And you should be proud. They should I love seeing the picture, of everyone there with their hat and T-shirts and they should be proud. I did have 2 pictures, but it was just
Yeah, you shared them.
just me and the O-line.
The one in Pittsburgh in 2017.
Which was cool. That was a fun.
That was a great game.
Great game. I got hit with coffee that game.
That was one of the few games where like we ran out and Tom was like taunting the fans. He never usually did that.
Well, that's what happened. We were leaving.
Yeah.
We're leaving, and there's a video of like me and him like hugging.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like I started screaming at people, and someone threw a coffee at him and
you got
it nailed me in the neck.
You did your job. You protected.
It kind of felt good. It was cold. It felt good.
Cold.
But then I was sticky. They had a lot of cream and sugar in there.
Yeah.
But that was a great one. And then in Denver in 2018, another just frigid game, and beating them. And yeah, I mean, they should be proud. They should be excited. And look, for Vrabel to set these goals, I'm sure that was, very communicated to the team.
Yep.
And I'm sure he laid out how they were going to do that we didn't get to see.
Yep.
But, what a win. But first, I want to thank our partners at FW Web. On jobs large and small across 16 disciplines, FW Web has the selection, in-stock inventory, expertise, solutions, and people to get the job done right. For more than 150 years, FW Web has been the trusted partners for professionals across the Northeast, delivering what you need, when, and where you need it. Because at FW Web, they believe relationships, trust, and dependable service matter. FW Web, where every customer counts.
All right, that brings us to our guest of the week, a pretty special one.
Yeah.
Your AFC East champion, head coach Mike Vrabel. Looking forward to this one. Got a lot to ask him. We know he's got...
Not too much. We were on a time constraint.
On a time constraint, but we appreciate him coming on, so hope you guys enjoy. All right, we're going to welcome in the head coach of the New England Patriots, the AFC East champion New England Patriots. Vrabes, thanks for being here with us. We appreciate the time.
Yeah, man. Look, obviously...
Thanks for having me. Sorry, let me get a word in there, David. Sorry.
Don't cut him off like Phil Perry. That's an NBC thing. Don't cut him off like Phil. Jeez.
We're trying to be respectful of your time. We want to, keep it short. Kind of like you kept my career short, but
we have as much time for you guys as you guys want.
Oh, you're a good man. You're a good man. Well, look, obviously last year was a different year for you, right? You kind of had a year off. I know you were still working, but you weren't in your full-time coaching role. How did that, change your perspective of things you wanted to do differently? Obviously, this opportunity came up. How did that mold you, and what did you look at to try to get better, and how you want to do it the next time opportunity you had?
Well, I think what you try to do is in every place that you go or wherever you're at, you try to learn from coaches that you're with. People that you're around, you always try to take ideas, form them, kind of put them into your own, personality, your own style. But I would say the one thing that I learned the most, about last year, just how important, the connections are with the players. I was in a unique role. It was more of a, player development. I worked with a lot of young players and was able to do stuff with them on Mondays and Tuesdays. Would try to do some pre-advanced stuff about the other team's defense, but it was really just about some of the younger players and, getting to appreciate that and remembering what's important.
No, that's awesome, Mike. And obviously, look, all three of us all played for Bill Belichick, and there was always a clear standard, right? And you, like I came in right after you left, just missed you by a year, and you were always talked about as one of the pillars of that environment, of that culture. And, it was one of those guys that we looked up to. But as you go on into your playing career, into your coaching career, we first met when you were coaching in Houston. You were still as intense then as you probably were as a player. I remember you talking shit to me from the sideline during training camp. What has it been like this second time around trying to instill that culture? You set clear goals from day one. I remember watching your press conference talking about no entitlement in this building. We're going to have a standard. You set goals, but you've done it in your own way. And I think that's been so fun to watch. Like I love, and you talk about, it's kind of a lot of pressure because these post-game press conferences are going to be on social media. But we love it because we get to see inside. And my favorite moment this year was when Drake gave you that game ball and people are shoving you around and you're shoving them right back. Like, how have you had that standard but able to do it in a fun way and make sure those guys enjoy it because you have that player perspective?
I think you try to make it about the player. You try to do everything that you can to help them and understand for them to do their job. There's a lot of pressure in what we do. But you try to give them answers. We try to teach them, we try to develop them, and obviously make a connection with them. We think that that's important. And, again, my number one job outside of winning is to protect the team. We like to, treat players how they treat the team, and everybody that's here, I think, has done a good job of that. Nobody's perfect. We've had some, times that guys, we all, slip up. We're late to a meeting or late to treatment. But, my job is to come up and make sure that, we're holding everybody accountable, to our actions that, towards the team. And it's okay to have a good time. And it's okay to, laugh at yourself. And if they're making fun of me, I got to be able to handle it, and I got to be able to laugh.
I heard you got a new T-shirt for Christmas.
I did. My little buddy Will, my little baby.
That's cute.
That was one of the greatest quotes when they asked you about his beer chugging. Now, we got a guy right here who was known to take his shirt off and chug a few beers. And I
didn't appreciate your comment.
I was wondering if he would have fired his strength coach as well, because I was dying when you said that.
That's peak male performance, Mike, and you know that.
That's a gutsy deal. I mean, when you do that, it's you go all in. And Taylor Lewan used to do that, and he had the. I don't want him catching any strays, but, he didn't have the biggest arms as a lineman, so he would be chugging it. We'd laugh and make fun of him, too.
Mike, obviously, you were on a lot of great teams, right? And with a lot of great players. And the great teams I know that I was on, the players took ownership of the team, and they ran the team. How have you used those experiences of being on success? You know what winning looks like. How did you take those player experiences and use that to influence your coaching decisions and how you run the team and how you get guys to buy in? Because obviously this is the first year, a lot of new faces, right? And I look at this team and it just seems like everyone's bought in, whatever the messaging is from especially on the offensive side of the ball, because we know offense more and things like that. But everyone just seems.
Or at least you claim to on television.
Yeah, I claim to.
We try not to give any trade secrets away. Okay,
Yeah,
that's our main goal.
I claim to. That's the biggest thing.
Like you're in our installation meetings when I hear you guys talk.
But how did you get? How did you use those experiences from a player on what championship teams look like, the leadership on those teams that you guys had, and install that so fast and use it in your coaching, attitude?
I think you're right. You are absolutely right in that you have to have some player accountability when the players start holding each other accountable to the actions. I think that's when you really start to make some progress. And I think that takes some time. It takes the making connections and trying to be intentional with getting to know everybody and what it is, where they came from, and how they ended up here. Everybody has a different journey to an NFL career. We always talk about that. I'm very conscious of that. Whatever, you guys have a journey, I do, each player, and that's all different. But I think we have to all respect it. I think I've tried to do a better job of appreciating everybody's personality. But we've talked about, you have to have a singular mindset about the team and how we're going to do things. But the personality that you have may be a little different than mine or somebody else's. And as long as your mentality and your mindset and your actions are similar, then I have to be okay with that. We talked about with our leadership, committee is they are their stewards for our program. And if each one of them reaches, just 4 other players, and that's really what they have to focus on. And that's what I try to tell them. I try to explain that to them, and if they can find 4 other players that they can reach and help and bring along, then that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I thought one of the best quotes you said is we don't have to have the same personalities, but we have to have the same mentality. And you see that by the way you guys play. I think the team is really taken after their head coach and your personality, and you see it out on the field. We were just talking about the Jets game, like how hard they played. Like Christian Gonzalez coming up and drilling Mechie in a game that, the Jets basically had their cars running at halftime ready to get out of there. But you guys have a standard, and they play to that standard no matter what. My last question, I got to ask about the quarterback. It's been so fun to watch Drake. Obviously, I got in this media thing last year watching him as a rookie and just seeing his progression. And look, I was around Tom, you were around Tom when he was young, and we don't need to compare him to Tom Brady, but I think the one thing Tom did was raise the level of play of people around him. What have you seen, and it hasn't even been a full year yet, but the progression of Drake? We saw you telling him to go celebrate with his teammates down in OTAs or training camp. Like, you didn't score a lot last year. Like, how have you seen him grow, not just on the field, but in that leadership role as well?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing. He's young, and I know that he wanted to prove himself to before he would be a leader or wanted to be a leader. And I said, I think we're going to have to just assume that you're going to be okay. We got to get this thing going in spring. We got to get this thing going in training camp, where that's the role of the quarterback. And he did that, and obviously his play is spoken for itself. I would say probably just his ability to remain a pocket passer when it's there. I know you appreciate being able to transfer up into the pocket, complete the football, keep his eyes downfield. But then I would say probably how accurate he's been, on the move or off platform, and just some throws even the other day outside the pocket, putting them in places where they're aggressive throws, but they're not in harm's way. They're out in front of guys where maybe Chiz is the only guy that can catch that ball in the end zone. Not leaving it behind him, things like that.
Well, Coach, man, we appreciate it. You've done an awesome job so far this year. Looking forward to this stretch coming up. Get ready to go. We'll see y'all at the end of the year, I guess.
Yeah, we appreciate
you guys. I really do. You guys are doing a heck of a job.
Hey, you got another budding podcast. You kind of helped them get their start off the ground, so we appreciate you coming on ours as well.
I got to be careful. I dropped some hot sound.
You should get some revenue share from that.
Yeah, you need revenue share for that, because I think you kind of got them really off the ground.
You should. I tell them that every chance I get.
Thanks, Coach. Mike. Good luck.
Hey, guys.
All right, I think we tried to fit it in as best. You think he heard my joke?
I don't think he did.
I tried to make a joke, obviously.
You laughed, David.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is football, and I think sometimes people, if you played long enough, you understand that it doesn't end the way you want it to. And look, I think, obviously, I think maybe I'm the problem, because they get fired me, and now they're, the best team in the AFC. Yeah. But, yeah, no, I mean, I tried to make a joke of the light of the situation. Look, everyone understands it, right? Like, that Bill was notorious, right? What did Bill do? He didn't save him to the end of the career. He shipped him off 2 years.
2 years before.
2 years before.
Yep.
But, look, that's just part of this business. It is what it is. But I tried to make light of the situation with Coach Vrabel. I
appreciate the attempt.
Yeah, I don't know.
I kind of like that you started to interrupt him, and then I got to throw Phil Perry under the bus.
The only reason, I was trying to, I knew he was on a time
It's awkward on Zoom.
Yeah, it was time constraint, and I was like, I just want to try to get this thing going for him. But
David, he's clearly the alpha, though, David. I mean, over you.
He's an alpha. I knew
he's
that
clearly the alpha.
Yeah, I knew that from when he coached in Houston. That you don't mess around with Braves.
Do you think Bill wasn't the alpha when he was coaching? You didn't. We wouldn't have gotten Bill. I would tell you that much. We would have gotten Bill.
I mean, I didn't play for them. I wasn't a player, but something about Vrabel scares me a little bit more.
I mean, yeah, he's a massive 6'5". He's probably packing a little bit more weight now. That coaching lifestyle adds a little weight to you, late nights, eating. But it was a great interview, and I think you just see him talking about, I think my biggest takeaway from the interview is the coach-player relationship and how much that means to him.
Yep.
And look, I think there was, Dante was so hard on us. And I think it guys knew in the back of their mind. That doesn't mean there was times it got bad with Dante, But I think at the end of the day, deep down, matter how hard Dante was on us, Dante wanted what was best for us.
Right.
Whether that was to play for the New England Patriots for 10 years, 12 years, whatever, or if that was to play for New England for 3 years and go sign a massive contract somewhere else.
He cared about you guys.
He cared about us. And when coaches do that and they're hard on you, it just, I don't know, it's easier to understand.
Yeah.
And sometimes a lot of times I think, without relationships, right, and I think coaching gets misunderstood because you see guys get blown up on the sideline and people be like, how did the coach do that? And you don't know what that relationship's like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And you got to have a relationship first before you do that. He couldn't have just came in there day one. You stink. You got to do this better. Like, no, you build that, and then you get demanding and hard on guys.
Yeah, and I think being a former player, he understands that. So he has a lot of things when you look at the perspective that he's gained to get to this point is pretty interesting, right? Like we mentioned, he was a pillar of that first dynasty. He was a guy that I heard stories about, even though I wasn't there with him. And then he goes on and finishes his career. He gets into coaching. He becomes a head coach. He learns from that experience. I thought it was cool when he talked about his time in Cleveland. Like, he was doing some different things. He was in player development. He's spending time with the young guys. He's understanding, what this generation of player needs. It's different from when he was a young guy, right? And I think he's gained that perspective. Josh hit on it a few weeks ago. He talked about how Vrabel came in and said, first we got to understand the guys in this room. We got to understand each other. We got to build those relationships. And then I thought it was pretty cool because they asked Drake about Vrabes running out there to check on him when he got hit the other day. He's like, look, he coaches us hard, but we know he loves us, which I thought was an incredible statement for your young quarterback to say. And that's why I said to him, like, you see his impact on the way this team plays and how they play for one another. And I think he's fostered that environment. It was just, it was very cool to, like, gain his perspective of how he's gotten here. The blueprint, obviously, he talks about his time playing, his time coaching, and then, for me, it was great to hear him talk about the quarterback because he played with the greatest quarterback, and now here he is coaching the next generation in the same building.
And I think Drake's commented on his and Mike's relationship, how, Vrabel's not teaching Drake the X's and O's of playing quarterback. Right. But it's maybe situational football stuff, big picture type things, and leadership type things. And that's where I think a head coach, especially someone with a young quarterback, where I look at Bill and Tom and look, you can say what you want about their relationship, especially at the end, but early on, I think a lot of those, who Tom Brady became, was because of a lot of the things Coach Belichick taught him.
And Tom has said that. Yeah,
and I'm not saying, like, Tom was a great leader for a lot of he was a great person because of his parents. I'm talking about the way he played the game.
Yep.
And, I think you're seeing some of that with Drake. And I think that's a great thing to have. So, it was awesome. Really appreciate Coach Vrabel. Look, right now in this season, you know what it's like for the coaches. We know these coaches work their ass off. So for him to take 15, 20 minutes of his time today, we really appreciate it. And, I think we're super excited to see what is going to happen.
Can we talk about something else, though? This news broke after we talked to Mike Vrabel on the show and Stephon Diggs and the situation there. Can we just touch on this for a second?
Yeah, Danny, it's your show. You control it.
Go ahead.
The New England Patriots are aware of the acquisitions that have been made regarding Stephon Diggs. Stephon has informed the organization that he categorically denies the allegations. We support Stephon. How do you guys react to that?
First of all, everything. My father-in-law, who was a lawyer for a long time, is going to appreciate this. Everything is alleged. Okay, so you are innocent until proven guilty. It's just, I think, Danny, your point is, what does this do to the team? We just talked to the head coach. He is not going to let this become a distraction. They have the right person in place to be the head of the organization with Mike. They have the right people in the head of the organization with the Kraft family. And ultimately, I think that this is what should be done in a process like this is you support your person until he's proven guilty. And if Steph says that he denies the allegations, then that's what you got to ride with.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. Like, until something is set in stone, right, it's all, their word versus your word. And you don't know the other people, and you only know your party of the incident.
Right.
And so you support that until something is set in stone, and or something else, you find out more facts, whatever that is. But look, you're right. They have the right structure to handle the distraction.
Yeah.
But it is a distraction because they can't control what the media asks. So now,
Danny,
every player is going to have to answer for this, right?
That's why, like, to me, I get this is our role right now, but I don't even want to breathe life into because perception can become reality. And so now that allegation is out there, and I'm sure a lot of people are saying, well, he probably did it. Like, well, we don't know. And so I appreciate the statement that the Patriots put out. They support their guy and let the legal system handle everything else.
You have to let,
because look at, I don't want to compare this, but look what happened to Peppers last year, right?
Yeah.
Remember that? There was these big allegations. He missed a lot of time. It ends up being thrown out, right? Am I right in saying that, Danny?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think the right way to do it is to let the legal system play out. People are in. This is what our country is based on. You're innocent until you're proven guilty. And so I appreciate the statement. I ultimately appreciate the people who are in charge there and how they will handle it. Miller Lite isn't just any light beer, it's the original light beer. And when Miller Lite arrived 50 years ago, time became Miller time, and fun nights became stories worth telling. Miller Lite celebrating 5 decades of legendary moments, because legendary stories start with the light.
And that brings us to our legendary moment, presented by Miller Lite. Legendary stories start with the light. Here's the 50 years of Miller time. All right, Hoy, take yourself back. 2018, right?
Yep.
Wasn't our best year.
No, and that was the year the Miami Miracle, oddly enough, we're playing Miami, and then we lost to Pittsburgh. But then we came home, regrouped, we beat Buffalo. Oh. And I'll never forget this. We go into the locker room after the game.
Well, we knew the 1 seed was out of question.
Right, the Chiefs had the 1 seed.
But this was still when you had the 1 and 2 seed had buys.
And so we come into the locker room, and the Texans, who were the other team that we were competing with for that 2 seed, their game was still on against the Eagles. And about, 30 of us huddled in that equipment room.
Which is not much bigger than
probably not much bigger than our studio. And we watched the Eagles go down and win the game, and knew we were going to secure that bye, which was huge. So I guess this legendary moment kind of goes along with hat and T-shirt, securing seeds, playoff, implications.
And the Pats could be running in the equipment room depending on how this game in Denver goes.
That is exactly true.
They flexed it to have them both compete at the same time. But
Trey Lance, former 3rd-round pick. Come on, baby. You're being coached by Harbaugh now. It's a new situation. You've watched Justin Herbert play.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
And this kind of ties into, my rookie year in 2015. We go down to Miami, and we were trying to run the ball, and we were trying to make a statement. And I don't know if that cost us the game, but we ended up losing the game.
Yep.
Now Denver became the 1 seed. We had to go to Denver. And obviously Denver beat us and went on to win a Super Bowl. And it's kind of just cyclical now. We got Denver,
that's right,
Pats fighting for this 1 seed. So
it is interesting when you get to that last week of the season, and there's playoff implications on the line. There's bonuses on the line. There's records potentially on the line. And I remember in 2011, Gronk and Jimmy Graham were going back and forth for the tight end receiving yard record. Yeah. So you talk about like scoreboard watching. We were winning. The game was out of hand. I was in basically to hand the ball off to finish the game because Gronk had the lead in the receiving yards. And all of a sudden, I see Gronk running out to the huddle. And Bill O'Brien calls into my helmet. He's like, all right, the Saints game just ended. Gronk needs like 5 yards to surpass Jimmy Graham. Yeah. So we're just going to put him out wide and run a hitch. Well, in our offense, if someone presses you while you're running a hitch, it converts into a fade. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't even know if Gronk knows this rule. He barely runs a hitch. So I drop back. This joker took off for the fade. I throw it to him. It was a contested catch on the sideline. We peter it. He gets the record. He's out of the game.
Was there really a contested catch with Gronk?
Honestly, it was one of those like toe tap on the sideline. Uh-huh. Did he secure the catch to the ground? But because we were going for the record, we wanted to make sure. We petered it, got him the record, moved on. That was the year we went to the Super Bowl as well, lost to the Giants.
Look, I know now the Chargers, they really have nothing to play for, but there's just no telling what will happen. And look, I think you got a guy like Trey Lance, like he's going to be ready to go now. Yeah. Like he's trying to go. Yeah, this is an opportunity.
Audition for him.
Yeah, this is an audition. Yep. And so, especially against that defense, it's not like he's slapping it around against somebody. So, who knows what happens this week? And I think, look, kind of previewing ahead to the Dolphins, right? If the Pats prepare, and obviously I don't know how they prepared, what the motivation was this week, all that stuff, but if they take whatever they did this week and do it again, it can be the same results.
Yeah, and I hope it's cold. I hope it's windy.
I think it's supposed to be in the 20s.
Perfect.
Like, these teams at this point, right, everybody has a breaking point. Right?
You never really had to deal with that. I was on several teams that dealt with those breaking points.
Bullshit. That's
Maybe
my career ended
a few years
with some breaking.
Okay.
But like, everybody's got a breaking point. And I'd say that even in like an AFC Championship Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's will is going to break at some point.
Yeah.
When you're playing a team like this, that will breaks a lot quicker. And I think you saw that last week with the Jets.
Yeah.
Look, I think Miami is I'm not going to say it's a certain number, but they're a better football team than the Jets.
No doubt.
You saw what they did to Tampa. I know Tampa's kind of reeling.
Yep.
But, all you got to do is you go out there and you handle your business like you did against the Jets. It's the middle of the second quarter, and you're going out there and you're having fun. Yeah, you're running. You're doing what you want.
You play to that standard, like we talked about. Doesn't matter who you're playing. You take their will. You make them start thinking about Cabo or the Bahamas or wherever they're going to go. Because a lot of those guys' flights are booked for Monday or Tuesday of next week. I guarantee that because I've been on those teams. So go out there, handle business. And I think what you're saying is there'll be some scoreboard watching. If you take an early lead and you feel comfortable, and let's just say the Broncos are winning by 20, you're going to get your backups in there. They're going to play. If that game's close and you're winning, maybe you let those guys stay in a little bit longer. But that's why they play these games all at the same time. So that way, the Patriots don't play at 1, they win, and now all of a sudden Denver's like, all right, we got to play our guys. And then all of a sudden it gets out of hand, take people out. So they'll be keeping an eye on that scoreboard for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this week's interesting because, you had Milton Williams who didn't play last week. I would say this, Milton's a veteran. Right, this is a guy that's done it. He's made playoff pushes with the Eagles, obviously. I feel more confident. And one, D linemen don't have to play 100% of the snaps.
Right.
So, I don't know what the Patriots. I don't think him not playing this week because he wasn't ready. I think the Patriots knew, like, all right, we don't have to have him this week.
But would you put yourself in? You were a veteran. Say you missed 4 weeks. Would you want to play some football before you got to the playoffs?
And this is bringing me to my point of Will Campbell because I know he's eligible to return this week. Look, it's after a certain point in the season, the NFL does not allow you to put on pads.
Right.
And Will's a rookie, and all I'm saying that is because I know what it's like to be a rookie, and your football database is minimal, Like, I don't know how to explain it, but
no, it's a good way. Like, I don't want to use the word experience because you and I both know experience. It's all about execution. But this time in a college season, you're pretty much wrapping up. Yeah. For him, it's ramping up, and he hasn't played in 4 weeks.
I would like to see Will play.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he needs to play the whole game, but he needs to feel another man across from him. He needs to feel a man put his hands on him. You know what I mean? And why do we have to do that?
Danny smiled for that.
Why do we have to do that?
Danny got excited.
Why do we have to turn everything into that?
Another man.
Do I got to say pause? Do I got to say pause?
No,
if you were in the locker room, you would have a lot of pause.
I would argue with guys. So you could just say whatever you want and say pause, and it's cool. No, but
if the NBC team doesn't clip that, I'm clipping that, and I'm going to put it on social media.
I was not going to do anything, and I saw Danny's eyebrows go.
But no, it's the truth.
That was hilarious.
It is the truth.
It is the truth. You gotta it's different for you. Well, I hate you guys.
I have a question. Does the 2 seed versus 3 seed matter at all, or is it just obviously we put the Jags?
Our legendary moment at that time frame,
it mattered then.
It mattered because you had a bye week, and I don't know how you feel about it, Hoy, but it kind of ties in with the college football. I'm not a fan of adding teams to the playoffs. And, that's obviously what happened. The NFL added an extra team. Therefore, now the 2 seed has to play. I think the 1 and 2 seed getting a bye is awesome. Yeah. And, we knew we were going to go on the road, but like you said, Hoy, us getting that bye felt like we were getting the 1 seed.
So let's just look at this. We're going to assume the Patriots win this Sunday. If the Chargers lose, but the Bills win, which I would assume the Bills would beat the Jets. That's who they're playing, right?
Yeah, they play the Jets.
If that happens, so Bills win, Chargers lose, they switch spots, and we're hosting. The Patriots are hosting the Chargers in the opening round.
Yes.
I would love that.
Yeah, I like that better than the
very
Bills.
similar to 2018, where they come up here and look. Justin Herbert is an excellent quarterback, but he is just tattered right now. The offensive line, they can't protect him.
I'm not a Justin Herbert guy.
I think he's good.
I know everyone says he's good, but I just and everyone says Jalen Hurts stinks, but he's gone to 2 Super Bowls. I don't know. I know there's a lot that goes into it. But
Well, we can talk about.
That's solely because he hasn't won in the playoffs. Is that why you're saying that, David?
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
To me, I think
he's
the
a good
only thing that
quarterback.
matters is winning.
Of course it does.
Of course it does. That's for me. But that's a very closed-minded way to look at it. But to me, that's why when you're like, oh, who's the GOAT, Jordan or LeBron? I'm like Jordan because he won.
But the quarterback position can't do it on his own.
I know.
Jalen Hurts had a tremendous year last year, but his defense was generational, arguably.
Yeah, I know.
I think now is a good time then to talk, if we're talking quarterbacks, to bring up the MVP conversation, Stafford versus Drake Maye.
You think so?
I think it's over. I think he's minus 400 right now on sportsbooks, so that says a lot.
That's just the betting. We don't know the thoughts and processes of the people who get a vote. Like Burt Breer has been pretty outspoken. I was following him, and he's like, just because the odds say something doesn't mean that's how it's going to go. And he is voting for the MVP, so maybe he's trying to send a smokescreen. I don't know. In my opinion, and I've sat here and talked about how great Stafford is, but when you look at the numbers, and I get it, there's the differential is in the touchdown passes. That's really what it is, the yards. But I also saw, I think Stafford has 80 more attempts. Is that right? 60 more attempts on the season than Drake?
Overall?
Yeah.
Overall?
I'd have to double check that.
Yeah, let me double check.
But I agree. I think what Drake has done, I think you have to take into account, when you're talking about MVP, you have to take into account the situation, the players that he's playing with. I don't think anyone would sit here and say any of our receivers are better than Puka or even maybe Devontae. I would say
this is my thing, right? The MVP,
no kidding.
The MVP stands for most valuable player. This team last year, which I was on, was 14-3. I wish.
Yeah.
4-3.
Yep.
God dang. 4-13. I sound like you, Danny. 4-13. That Rams team was pretty good last year. Mm-hmm. Right?
They were the only team that gave the Eagles
a run for
their money in the playoffs.
How do you not argue that Drake Maye has done more for the Patriots than Stafford?
Look, I'm all for it. This is not a lifetime achievement award.
I know, but I think it could become a lifetime achievement award.
And that's why I'm saying there's going to be some.
And I would say even if it does, it's not like Stafford hasn't earned that.
No.
And earned it with his play this year.
Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback, in my opinion. I was correct. Sarah just let me know. Stafford has 83 more attempts than Drake Maye and only 200 yards more. So this was the one that I sent you.
The common opponent.
No, you have that one. You can do that.
All right. Well, I'll buffer with that for right now while you find yours.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
Everyone wants to talk about Drake Maye's week schedule. Okay. Well, they have 6 common opponents: the Rams and the Pats. That's Atlanta, Baltimore, Carolina, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and Tennessee. Drake Maye is 6-0 in those games. Stafford is 4-2. Completion percentage: Drake Maye is 70%. Stafford 67. Yards per game: Drake Maye has the edge, 265 yards to Stafford's 257. They have equal amount of 14 touchdowns. Drake only has 3 interceptions in those games. Stafford has 6. And then the rest of the stats are all green on Drake Maye's side. So common opponents, 6 of them with the Rams. Drake Maye outplayed Stafford.
That a boy stat boy.
All right, so this is per Next Gen Stats, and this is Drake Maye passer rating by situation quarterback rank in the NFL.
Oh my God.
Overall, first. Deep 20-plus air yards, first. Under pressure, first. Outside the numbers, first. Past the sticks, first. Versus zone coverage, first. Into tight windows, second. Versus the blitz, second. Versus 2 high safeties, first. Versus sub defense, first. On first down, first. On the road, second. When trailing, second. Outdoors, second. Third and fourth down, fourth. Like, he is in every single category.
Is that good?
It's pretty freaking good at 23 years old. And this was, you had texted me, you were asking about some of the plays, and we were having a good conversation about it.
And I think Vrabel mentioned, you heard him mention it, so go ahead.
You talking about the part where, like, he wanted to earn the respect before he was a leader, or what,
I thought you
like,
were going to
in the pocket?
The Chisholm play.
Yeah, the Chisholm play.
And, like, Drake's confidence and all of that.
Yeah, what I see from Drake Maye is probably the guy who's playing the position the best right now. And the reason I say that is, and this goes along with the scheme that he's playing in and his mastery of it. The touchdown pass to Mondre, that was knowing what the defense was going to do, getting the right call, getting it, and then the physical part takes over. The touchdown pass to Chisholm, and Vrabel talked about it, like, only spot he could have put that, and it would have been a touchdown, all right? He's got the physical traits to do it outside the pocket, and Mike hit on it, was teaching him how to play within the pocket. And I don't know how he does it, because he has not, at least I haven't seen in a while where he's forced a scramble. He lets it come naturally, so he's in the pocket, he feels the rush, he goes through his reads. If someone's there, he gets it to him. If, heaven forbid, a guy misses a block, he has the athletic ability to extend the play and get out of there. He did it to the scramble to Hunter. He had a scramble play
to Diggs,
and that's the even more impressive part is how accurate he is outside of the pocket. And so I really believe that he is the model of what the quarterback position should be in the NFL, because he's got the physical traits, but he's playing with his mind at such a high rate. And this goes to the conversation, like, progression read versus coverage read. He's been taught the right way. Josh talked about it when we had him here in the studio. He's climbed that mountain, and now that he's gotten to that mountain pretty high up, he's letting his physical traits take over. And now it's like, you know, when you hear athletes talk about flow state, like, that's how he played last Sunday. And if he can continue to do that down the road, the sky is the limit, not just for him, but for the team.
Yeah, I think, you know, I had shot you a text Monday morning watching the film, asking about Drake and, you know, what you thought. And this, because how I see Drake, right, and you know more about the techniques and all these different things, but I look at a guy that is playing with just amazing confidence.
Yes.
And a lot of these throws he's making, like, let's take the Kyle Williams one last week.
Yep.
Like, he's just putting the ball where it needs to be, and then he's trusting and has the confidence not only in himself but his teammates that they're going to go make a play for him.
Yeah.
Same thing, you talked about the scramble with Diggs. Like, that was a 3-step drop, the cut, no one was open, he held onto the ball, he went out, made a play, he put that ball, gave Diggs a shot. Like, was it the best throw I've ever seen? No, like, it was a great throw, and Diggs went up and made the catch, but you still got to get the ball to your guy and give him a chance. And even the Chisholm throw, like, you know, he gave Chisholm a chance to go make it. The Hooper throw, same thing. Like, there's all these throws every week that I'm looking at them and I'm like, man, maybe it's not like as good a throw as like that, the fourth down to Diggs last week where he's like throwing back around, like, but it's the confidence that he has in himself to, like, hey, I'm going to give a chance to my guy to make a play.
Yep.
And I can make the throw, and then my guy's got to do the rest.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous place to be, man.
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's dangerous to play against.
And I think the point that we got to on that conversation was he's confident in the scheme, he's confident in himself, and he's confident in his teammates. Yep. And I sent you that link, and I don't know who this guy is, Daniel Rotman on X, but it came across my feed, and he said during his research on Drake during the NFL draft, the one story he kept hearing went back to his high school days. During his junior year, where he threw 50 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, he would routinely check the stat sheet at halftime, not to see what he did, but to see which one of his guys needed more targets. Yeah. Like, and so it talks to the type of guy that he is. He wants to spread the ball around. And I think that's the one thing that we're seeing in this offense. You know, he's willing to just take the ball where the defense tells him to take it. And it doesn't matter if it's Diggs or Hunter or Hooper or the backs.
Mac Hollins.
It's a very freeing way to play football if you can have the confidence in your guys and what you're being coached. And he's done it. And I think that's opened his eyes. And I think you're right. Like the throw to Diggs on 4th down against the Ravens, I haven't seen him cut it loose like that a lot, and I think that's because you see his confidence, and he's like, I don't care if it's the window's this big. I got the arm to do it. My guy will be in the right position. Like, the arm has flashed. He's always thrown great deep passes. He's always thrown great, call them arc and pace balls, but now I start to see him driving the football with velocity, and when you can throw on all 3 levels, we call that like a 1 ball is like the fastball. The 2 balls, throwing those in cuts to Mac Hollins that you and I talk about, intermediate, and then no one's better at throwing the go or the post route than he is. So he's got the physical tools, he's got the mental tools, and now pair that with the confidence in the guys around him.
That's a good place to be.
MVP.
Give it to, I know I said my piece on him not winning it because I'm superstitious, but
yeah.
And I do think someone asked me today, like, you hear these quarterbacks, give the media answer, like, it's about winning.
Yeah.
He's like, someone asked me, like, and look, I played with Drake for, 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like know him very personally, but I've described him and said there's just something about him. And like, he was like, do you think he really cares about it? And I said, look, I think anybody in that position, if you're a competitor, you want to be the best at what you do, right?
Right.
Like, but I don't think Drake is playing to win MVPs.
No.
I think he's playing to win champions.
That's genuine, too, I think.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's genuine. Like,
Yep.
I'm not saying he doesn't, like, I'm not saying if he wins the MVP, there's the famous clip of Bill getting the AFC Championship trophy and being, like, handing it off,
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that's how he's going to act. But
I hope he gets it, and I hope that he can't be there for the award ceremony.
I do too. But I think, like he's wired the right way.
Yeah.
Whether it's from his upbringing and his parents, like he's wired the right way and cares more about the bigger picture than just that.
No doubt.
I have some questions for you. I want you guys to guess this because we're talking about him winning a Super Bowl. Who do you think in the NFL has the best odds to win the Super Bowl?
Are you talking like the betting odds are Vegas?
Seattle.
Seattle's 1.
That's wild to me.
Rams 2. Rams are 2. Who do you think third is?
Bills.
49ers. Broncos.
49ers are 4th.
Okay.
And then the Patriots are 5th at plus 900.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't.
It's interesting.
Look, I think if I'm the NFL this year, I'm licking my chops.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm talking from a business standpoint because of the parity.
Yes.
And because of, like, you kind of would look at the NFL, like, the last few years, you're like, all right, it's going to be the Chiefs and Eagles.
Yep.
Like, you could have, really, is there any quarterback other than Stafford, Brock Purdy are the only 2 that have been to a Super Bowl in this playoff bracket?
Hurts.
Hurts will be.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts.
So you've got 3 NFC quarterbers.
Yeah.
The rest have never been to
the AFC.
Out of 14 teams.
Aaron Rodgers. If the Steelers make it.
Yeah.
Steelers make it.
But what was it?
He's bad.
The AFC. This will be the first time the AFC isn't represented by Mahomes, Brady, or Manning.
That's the playoffs.
The playoffs, AFC since
first playoff without those
98.
Guys. Yep.
So,
since
I mean,
98.
look, you're going to have fresh blood, really, I think on the AFC side especially, like fresh franchises.
By the way, I went through my notebooks because I wanted to bring this out for when we get to the playoff episode, and I found it to the day, and it was pretty funny to see my notes almost exactly the same. Playoff myths and truths from Bill, and so we'll save those for next week. Or maybe 2 weeks, I don't know, and just talk about, how he would prep us for that and how usually those things were true.
Yeah, Bill's like a parent, when like your parent, like when you were like 12 years old, your dad told you something and you just were maybe a little older, like 14, you're getting some testosterone, you're starting to feel yourself a little bit and you're like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then you get a little older, you're like, wow, he was right. Like,
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first Super Bowl I was in with the Falcons. He's like, look, it's 2 separate games.
Yeah.
It's the first half game and the second half game. And I was like, no, it's not, Bill. It's one game. And he was right. He's like, there's no momentum in the Super Bowl. I'm like, yeah, it's football. There's moment. Like, it's amazing to see some of those things he would say. And at the time when you didn't know it, you kind of were like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, experience matters in the playoffs, but it's going to be a fun one.
That's a good little teaser for next week. Playoff myths and truths. I'm going to buy a Trey Lance jersey this weekend and be the biggest Chargers fan to ever exist. So let's go get the 1 seed.
Let's do it.
Let's go do it.
All right, that's a wrap. Had some breaking news. Interviewed the head coach. I mean, pretty good episode, I think.
Yeah, hey, not much else you could ask for. Is this the last? What are these, a scone?
Yeah, I'm calling them.
She's saying
scones.
it's not a scone.
She's not calling, but like,
I'm not sure you know what a scone is.
I don't
Sarah
know.
make these?
Aren't scones hard?
Yeah, they're firm.
These aren't hard.
Did Sarah make
And
these?
it's not a scone.
They
Sarah
are,
made these, yeah.
To me, it's
What is it, Sarah? A cinnamon stick?
I believe she probably baked them in a sheet pan. I've already had a few.
It does have a scone consistency. You're not off.
Thank you.
Why don't you keep one at your desk, Sarah, when I'm back next week from Florida, and I'm going to grab a scone,
By
please.
the time
I'll definitely be a scone by the time you get
a
back.
week later, it's definitely going to be a scone.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I like the little cinnamon touch on top. But
All
all
right.
right, that's
Happy
a
New
wrap.
Year, folks. We'll see you in the new year.
Yeah, see you in 2027.
Wow. 2026. Come on, bro.
Do the joke. Say, see you next year.
See you next year. Or check us out Wednesday nights, NBC Sports Boston, 6 p.m. or anywhere you find your podcast. Let's go get that 1 seed.
Let's do it.